Morning everyone, my name is Brent from Nottingham University. So the plan for the hour and 15 we have is we're each going to do a presentation on our experiences in our own institutions. So starting at NTU, then going to look at a FE example in Nottingham, looking at cyber from Joe Sustrans, and then finally finishing with Ben and Donna with Liverpool John Ward, and some work that we're doing there. Once we've done those, we're going to actually break into smaller groups and do a little bit of a workshop. So we'll hopefully get some outcomes and come away with 3 key messages. That's fine. See whether we stick to time. Hopefully we will. So first of all, at NTU, as with any university, we've got a really diverse set of campuses. So we have 3 campuses. One that's right in the middle of the city centre, very urban, very good public transport links. And then equally we have a completely rural campus as well. It's about 15 miles out of the city centre. And it's an old agricultural college. And you'll see in a second we have some problems there in terms of transport. Very high inter and intra travel at the university. So just to focus in a little bit more detail, the city site. So this is a shot actually of our city campus. We're really fortunate about getting on for 5 to 10 years ago now. We lobbied with the new tram in Nottingham to have that sort of route through our city campus, and it's just absolutely transformed our university and our travel plan. And that that could happen with obviously a very good bus route as well. So what we've managed to do in the time period that we've had the tram. We've got rid of 600 car park spaces over the last 5 years, because now almost all of our staff are parking tramming, and a good proportion of our students as well. So the city site is, it sort of manages itself really. We've got hardly any car parking, certainly no car parking for students, and I think it was only 10% in our last travel survey car use from students, and that's just using public car parks nearby. So that's a city site, no problems there. We've got our second site is one that's sort of in the suburbs of Nottingham called Clifton Campus. This is a little bit trickier. So we've got a lot of transport between those 2 biggest campuses. So this is what we've subsidised the Union bus service. It's been around about 5 years now, and it's almost become a victim of its own success. We're now getting over 500,000 people on it each year. It started off with about 200,000 in its first year, but it's just completely exploding. Each year we're having to cut down the number of journey, cut down the actual journey time. So we're now down to every 8 minutes, as you can see. But we still get loads of complaints from students that they're saying that they have to stand up. It's already sort of a double-length bendy bus, but it's actually a problem going forward that it's become too popular. The reason it's become popular is because the campus out here, we're really restricted in terms of our allocation of car park spaces to students. So everybody is means tested in terms if they want a car park space, they can't have one if they're on within a certain radius of the campus, on a bus route in the city, and if they're in halls of residence, they certainly don't get one. But they do, however, get a free bus pass if they're on our halls of residence on that campus. So it's generated a good service, but it has its problems because it's so successful. As I mentioned earlier, the sort of 3rd campus, finally setting the scene, is the Brackenhurst campus. This is really difficult in terms of transport management. I'm sure a lot of you out there have probably got a site like this that causes problems because it's incredibly high car use. We have up towards 80% car use here because the public transport is so poor. So what we try to do is improve the local bus service just by lobbying them and providing some modest funding to improve services. So we've got, for example, a night bus now, so the students can come back from Nottingham after a night out. But we're still struggling. What I'm going to talk about now is some of the things that we've done and how we've done things. So first of all, convenience. I've got 3 C's. That's the thing that I'm going to say takeaway. Convenience, cost, and create a deal. The first one is convenience. Make it easy for people to use the sort of facilities that you provide. What we have is integrated smart card, and that also acts as the bus pass, also acts as the access point to our bike compounds, for example. You can actually load your bus pass at any of the main receptions and the campuses, and that works ever so well. And you can also, as I said, if you get in one of our halls of residence, you automatically get a bus pass if you choose that extra option, discounted rate. Making it convenient has really worked, and that's just exploded really, the use of public transport and the tram because of that. Public transport is obviously an area where most of our students and staff use. However, in the last couple of years, we've developed this project called the EAUC Project in partnership with Sustrand and another couple of local institutions like the University of Nottingham. We're obviously trying to encourage cycle use, and it's really created an impetus for change. So we have lots of different activities. I'm sure you all heard about the usual things like free Dr. Mike sessions, that they're always fully booked, really, really popular. And we've also improved the infrastructure around the city, so the routes between campuses, we've looked at that with the City Council. We've improved some of the snagging issues, the sort of safety issues on particular tricky junctions and things like that. And that's really helped us in terms of actually being able to sell that to our students. It is a viable alternative to cycle out to Clifton rather than getting on the packed and overcrowded Union bus. Added some new services. So this is out at our Brackenhurst campus, realising that at Brackenhurst we were really struggling, and we have an animal and equine unit up there. And because it's such a big campus, it's essentially a big farm. We have to have students, because they get a cloud pass here, because there's no other alternatives out there. We have students driving on campus to their lectures and then back again to the library. It's incredibly frustrating, even though it's probably only a 10-15 minute walk and it's under 5 minute cycle ride. So this is what we developed, a pool bike scheme, completely free of charge. We've got 20 bikes there at the moment. That was it on day one, looking pretty shiny and new. They don't look like that anymore. They're very well used and a little bit of rust here and there, but still safe and still used every day, particularly on a sunny day like this. Essentially just go in, sign out a key at reception and use the bike as much as they want between 9 to 5. And it's particularly good at targeting the waiver majority. So people who think, I'll take up recycling, or I'm considering taking up recycling but don't want to invest. So we've actually seen a lot of people who use our full bike scheme and have gone on to use our full bike hire scheme. So this is the final side from me. Essentially, it's all about creating a deal. So the bike hire scheme, both University of Nottingham and Nottingham Trent have 230 bikes to hire out to our students each year. When we invested in the bikes together with Sustrands, we were really hopeful that it was just going to be snapped up. At University of Nottingham, they were. Every single bike was snapped up in the first year. At NTU, we could only hire out between 60 and 70 bikes. We were incredibly disappointed. What were the reasons? Still don't know for absolute certainty. Perhaps it's to do with the demographic of our students, perhaps it's to do with the geography of where our campuses are, because our biggest campus is right in the city centre, so most students can walk everywhere they need to go. I think there was probably an element of cost as well. We charged £35 for the whole year for a hire of a bike, which we think is a really good deal, but then we charged £100 deposit on top of that. Essentially looking at the Leeds model that worked well at the University of Leeds. So that was year one. Second year we managed to turn it around just simply by creating a deal. And that's the final thing for me to take away. What we did was slightly reduce the cost, bring the whole thing to under £100, so it's £35 cost, £35 hire, £60 deposit. That made a big difference. So you can just advertise it as 95 quid, makes quite a big difference. And probably the key thing that we did to actually make sure that all the bikes went out was to increase the visibility of the scheme. So on every single reception desk for all of our main buildings, had a couple of our hire bikes, had just an A board, and essentially just put on how many bikes we had left. So during those first week to 2 weeks of Freshers Week, we just started off with 230 bikes left, quick, hire yours, £95 for the year, and got our reception officers who got really engaged in it to update it every day, just by putting a sticker on it. 220, 210, you know, it started dropping by about 30 a day. It's just absolutely amazing. And sure enough, a week later, we had a waiting list of about 30 people for bikes. So I think as soon as students realised that other students were actually hiring it, and it was a good deal, it just seemed to snowball. So we'll certainly be doing the same next year. That's sort of my experience then to you. Okay, so I'm going to hand over now to Jo from Sausage Hands. You can talk a little bit about FD.
Hi, I'm Jo. I work for Sausage Hands. If you've not heard of us, we're a sustainable transport charity. We promote cycling and walking and active travel choice. So we're not anti-car, we just want people to have more choices about the way that they travel. We're based in Bristol. We do work on a number of different programmes, so the National Cycle Network and the Lobby programmes, Bike It in schools, but we also work on a number of projects in different organisations as well. And I run the Youth Cycle Nottingham project in partnership with people like Grant NTU, Nottingham University and the Nottingham University Hospitals. We ran for about 2 years to start with. We had money from Cycling England to start off. And we're very lucky because we've got some money through our partnership with the City Council from the LSTF fund to carry on for another 3.5 years. But we're not happy with the work that we've been doing. We're going to expand it a bit more. That's what I'd like to tell you now. Okay, so this shows you all the people that we worked with in the first phase of the project. It's quite a big partnership project, and I think that's probably been one of the keys to our successes. We worked in partnership with the 2 universities, the Hospital Trust, the City Council and other organisations within Nottingham. And I'm pleased to say after 2.5 years it's been a challenge, but we're all still talking to each other and we're all still working together, which is quite exciting really. This was the day of the bike plan, and I want to say we were launching the bikes that Grant's just been telling you about. We've got the funding through LSTF to carry on with the work that we've been doing, but that also means that we've got the money to do some work with the FE colleges. We had started doing a little bit of this. It was written into the main business plan from cycling that we wrote for Cycling England in the beginning. But really, we had our hands full with kicking off the project in 2 universities and a hospital trust and trying to build up momentum in Nottingham, which I think we're getting to. But it takes having, I think one of my big lessons I've learned is it takes having somebody dedicated within an organisation to do some of these things. And I'm aware that's a luxury, but it does take that because you need somebody there that can deal with all the everydays rather than being the end of their job. It's really, really important to have that. So I'm very lucky that we have a dedicated project officer who started in January, Danielle, because the work we were doing with the FE colleges up until then was sort of tacked on the end of my job at David, who's the project officer at NTU. So we're only really doing little bits of it. I'm not going to say we have all the answers today. We're really learning. We're learning from some of the stuff that we've done with the universities, but also recognising that the FE sector is very different. So there's some things we can take and learn from that, some stuff we can take from the school work that we're doing, but we're really learning with colleagues like yourselves about how we approach the FE work. So I wanted to tell you about some of the successful techniques that we've used. This is a new picture because we had a money week last week at South Notts College. So we're there promoting bikes and saying, have you thought about the way that you're travelling? Obviously money is a key issue to students in FE, or students everywhere really, so it's one of the things that we're looking at. So the successful techniques we've used are having events, getting out and talking to people. They can bypass all the, I'm sure you all know, people can bypass the messages they don't want to read by just ignoring them. So they just carry on with what they're doing. So getting out and actually talking to people is really important. Having some fun with it, so doing some different kinds of events, so challenges and that kind of thing is really important. Fitting around the hooks, so money is obviously a big one at the moment. Freedom, so the different levels of freedom that students are getting when they're in FE, so 16 to 18, you might still be living at home, is trying to get your freedom about what you're going to do after that, but also looking at the other students that we've got, because our FE colleges that we're working with, which are New College Nottingham and South Notts College, don't just deal with 16 to 18 learners, they deal with study release, adults getting back into education, so it's all about all those different streams of freedom and how that fits in with them. And also, a big thing for us is not working against getting your driving licence. So we're not saying that getting your driving licence is wrong, because that's obviously a big appeal when you're 16 to 18, but perhaps getting it and then thinking about whether you're going to get a car or not. And it's a big balancing act, because although people want more freedom, and perhaps money is an issue, students 16 to 18 perhaps have their first Saturday jobs, they've got more disposable income than they've ever had, so that's kind of a nice thing to invest in. So working around that and not saying it's all wrong. location. Obviously I've talked about the money thing and about where they're living, so that's obviously a big issue. So are they living at home or living out, and tackling some of the issues around that. The call of cycling, big issue with the students always, trying to get them to cycle and see that it's actually okay and normal people do it. So some of it is about actually doing it yourself and getting other people within the college to do it. I think that we found, as Grant was just saying with the youth cycle bikes, once more people have them, they were sort of selling themselves because more people were doing it because they were being out there more. The specific challenges are really just getting them to listen and be interested. As I was saying, it's very easy for them to bypass you, but the more it becomes mainstream within the colleges, the more they're going to see it, and the more it's going to become the main thing that's just done. So I think it's got to be made mainstream in order for it to. So it's getting buy-in. Was one of the presentations yesterday. It's getting buy-in from the top, getting buy-in from the middle, and getting buy-in from the bottom. So you're not just telling the students to do it, you're getting the management team to be signed up to it and doing it themselves, and you're getting that middle rank as well, so that people are all feeding all the information. Because if information is going to the lecturers or teachers and it's not being fed down to their students through their tutor groups, then they're just not getting the information that's being filtered out. I think it's also about walking the talk, and the next picture is me, the teenage me on my bike. I was amused the other day because I went to an event and I went to get my bike afterwards to go home, and a member of staff stopped me and said, "Oh gosh, you really do cycle, don't you?" So I think it's about being seen to do the stuff, so you're not actually just telling people what to do, you are actually doing it because that impresses people, and then they see that you actually do it and you believe it and make it part of your life, and you're doing your normal job, which means you've got to do all the normal busy things that everybody else does, but you're just doing it anyway and cycling. That's all from me, so I'm going to pass over to Donna and Ben to do their presentation.
Hi, I'm Donna Guttridge from Liverpool John Moores University. I'm the Assistant Environmental Manager at John Moores. I'm going to talk about a very sort of specific pilot project that we're doing at the moment in relation to student engagement and travel planning. Just setting the context, John Moores again is a free campus university. We've got two large city campus sites, and this particular project is actually aimed at our largest site, which is our city campus. We've got 11,000 students at that campus. It's right in the centre of Liverpool, so it's linked up with the public transport network, but it's in a very busy, congested area, etc. The idea behind this project really was just to set some of the background. We had a full staff and student travel survey in 2007 and 2009, and we were getting the usual feedback from those surveys, and I started putting measures in, such as cycle hire, discounted ticket, quite sort of singular ad hoc measures, and what I was finding really was they weren't having a great take up. The survey was saying, this is what we want, we put measures in place, they weren't having a good take up. So we took a step back and we started sort of really thinking about engagement and communication channels, etc. And one thing I wanted to do was try to sort of engage with students in a completely separate way to how we engage with staff, particularly on sustainable travel. So the aim and the goal behind this project is that to actually learn some lessons about engaging with students, about all the communication channels, etc. So Liverpool John Moores University, working with a private consultancy, Mott MacDonald, and we started this project in November last year. And what it's about is it's sort of a three-phase approach. The first phase started in semester one, so it's run throughout the whole academic year. And we've sort of taken a step back. We've commissioned Mott MacDonald to go out and start talking to the students. We've had focus groups, we've had an online survey, walk this way, talk this way survey, really focused on finding out how students want to be communicated with, what they want in terms of travel measures, and how they want to receive those messages, etc. The real goal is to learn, it's about social behavioural change and communication channels, and they're the lessons we're trying to learn. The benefit, the byproduct of that is to reduce our single car occupancy rates. We have fairly low rates because we're a city centre campus. It's about 13% of students at the moment, and we do have good walking rates. The contradiction is we have a 40% walking rate amongst people that are living in halls, and then as students tend to move out of halls at the end of the first year, then we move over further and actually considering buying cars. So it was that particular group of students that we found we haven't necessarily been able to capture before at Freshers Week or in inductions. But again, this pilot's sort of aiming at that group. So again, it's a slightly different approach. So the first phase was all about getting out there, talking to the students, doing the surveys, actually having some presence on campus. We had a student work placement as well, helping Not MacDonald to raise the awareness of both the we have a very short online travel survey and focus groups. The second phase is developing a brand, an icon, and it's something that we very much, it's that bottom-up approach where we want the students to be feeding in. So what we're intending and what we actually want to get from this is a brand around student travel planning for the university, which then we can use as a sort of wrapper for promoting, communicating with students, launching the initiatives, etc. It will go on our website, it will go on all our social media, it will also go on our hard measures, etc. So we're at that sort of brand development stage, which started at the beginning of this second semester. We've done a lot of the focus groups, a lot of the background work, lots of Ben will talk about the sort of designs and the elements that we've worked up. We're about to pre-test the brand with the students. We're doing an online Facebook competition at the moment. We've come out with 2 very distinct brands that we're going to now launch on Facebook and actually get the students to vote which ones they like best, etc. And we're also doing some competitions with our faculty, our art and design faculty. We're going to run a rival video competition once we have the brand to sort of help us launch that, etc. So we're trying to sort of engage with students, but also get this, this sort of buy-in from faculties internally, and also from our external partners, because obviously, we've got a brand, but what are we branding? Well, we need specific measures such as discounted tickets, cycle hire, cycle maintenance, walking maps, route guides, etc. We need things that we're actually going to launch. So I'll just pass over to Ben to talk about a little bit of the specifics that we've learned about engagement and where we're at now. One thing we'll say is that we've definitely learned so far from the first semester is about communication channels. We were quite sort of keen that we'd use a lot of the social media channels, and that would be our main way of getting buy-in, getting feedback from the survey, and getting recruitment for the focus groups. We found, as we were out and about and on campus and recruiting for everything and just trying to raise awareness of this project, that students did actually like that one-to-one, they liked that contact, they liked us being out there. They particularly liked the fact that we had this peer-to-peer engagement because we had a student helping out, and they managed to get a lot more students interested than I think either myself or Ben did at that stage. So it was quite interesting to learn that the students do actually like that sort of face-to-face engagement as well. And it was really necessary to use all the communication channels and the more traditional ones such as posters, flyers, etc., as well as just the sort of social media. So I'll just pass you on to Ben to give you a bit more detail on the specifics.
Hi, I'm Ben. I work for a transport planning consultancy called McDonald's, and I specialise in doing social marketing and travel behaviour change work. So, as Don said, we were commissioned to come in and try and help with the project was launch this campaign and create a brand identity as well for the campaign. Just to add to what Don said about the communication channels there, it is really important before you do any campaign, so do engage with students, that you do get that senior buy-in and support from your corporate communications teams if you do work with them. So obviously you're going to be using social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter, which the university will hold and be responsible for, so you've got to get that buy-in and support, otherwise communication channels can be quite limited as to what you can do. Also, we're very much aware that it has been really difficult to engage with students about travel behaviour. It's not, they're not that particularly enthusiastic about how they get to university, transport, travel, and bombarded with surveys and messages all the time. So the idea is to do something slightly different and embrace new technologies as well to try and engage with them. So So moving on to the first phase, which is all about market research and insight. So we did 2 focus groups with students, so about 10 students in each group. We also ran an online travel survey called Walk This Way, Talk This Way. We had about 1,000 students respond to that, which is about a 10% response rate, which is kind of what we expected, really. We'd like a bit more, but we can't always encourage it to come in. The focus groups and survey looked at student attitudes, perceived social norms, so whether there's any social pressures to drive or cycle, social images of cyclists as well, walkers. And we looked at barriers and motivations to car use and sustainable transport. I think one of the key things is when you do market research with students around travel behaviour is that you treat them as products as you would do when you sell the marketing aerosols, deodorants and stuff like that, that you do have the car, which is sort of, in terms of our campaign, competitive behaviour. So we want the car travel that is competing with sustainable transport, whether that's public transport or cycling, walking. So what we did do is look at benefits and barriers to both products, because to create that tipping point and to create a behaviour change, you need to understand why people drive, what are the benefits of driving, as opposed to what the barriers are to sustainable transport. So you kind of create that tipping point, because ideally what you want to do is obviously reduce the barriers to sustainable transport, walking, cycling, public transport, and conversely increase the barriers to car use, and obviously promote the benefits to public transport. So once you've identified those insights, you can then act upon them and create this point through social marketing and behaviour change initiatives. So this is just one example of some of the actionable insights that we got from both the quant and qual research that we did. So in terms of car users, we did see that a significant market of car users living within 5 miles of the university that drive. I think it was 50% of the car users live within 5 miles, and obviously that's the cycle distance, and the students as well felt they could cycle 5 miles and that wouldn't be a problem. And also the Department for Transport, their guidelines kind of like 5 miles as well. So we kind of looked into that market a bit more in terms of behaviour change. So obviously with public transport take at Liverpool, John Moores and walking as well, it's quite high already, so we're trying to increase cycling, particularly at Liverpool, John Moores. There isn't any particular reason for that, so there's quite a big opportunity there to try and increase uptake of cycling. So obviously there's great propensity amongst students to cycle or think about cycling during sort of warmer, dry summer months, and obviously because large parts of the summer holiday students are away, which causes a problem because that's the best time to obviously market cycling, try to promote cycling. You've got 2 opportunities really. When freshers start, you've got Freshers Week, and it's normally quite pleasant weather in September, October, so you can try and engage with them there, promote them there. And then again, sort of towards the end of the year, when students are thinking about moving away from halls, that's another time to engage with them. Because the campaign particularly targeted first year students, because obviously their travel habits haven't been established yet. They've only been there a year or even less so if you hit them in Freshers Week. Whereas if you try and target second year and third year students, their habits are far more ingrained, it's far more difficult to change their behaviour. So I would suggest if you are looking to do something along these lines that you do target first years and you're very specific about that. So the best time that we sort of identified really was during Freshers Week. We do quite a lot of promotions. Obviously there's a lot of promotions going on anyway about free pizza, free booze and stuff like that during Freshers Week. So you've got to be careful and try and stagger it maybe in the second or third week after all those promotions are done. And also when students are thinking about where they're going to live outside of halls, they tend to move away quite a fair distance we found, and that's where car ownership really hikes up. It kind of doubles from first to second year. So that transitional period from first to second year is key if you're going to try and instill long lasting sustainable travel habits. You've got to capture them when they're thinking there. So if you've got any fairs where students can meet landlords or any accommodation fairs, really try to have a strong presence there, and just so they take on board about travel and just say, look, do you know how much it's going to cost if you live quite far away from university in terms of car use and stuff like that, just to encourage them to live quite close by as well. Quite interestingly, we found that the single occupancy car users were about 2/3 of female users, so we tried to understand why that was, because initially I think our assumptions were that it would be sort of a larger male market in terms of car users. And I think with Liverpool John Moores, the campus that we're working with, there's a lot of student placements, particularly like nursing and medical placements, and generally more females on those courses, so they were more dependent on the car. So that was the main reason really, and obviously when that's the case that you can't do too much to reduce car use because they are dependent on the car. We're not like anti-car like Joe said previously, we're just trying to improve their travel choices. So what we suggested is obviously a car sharing tool that, because a lot of these students do the same placements at the same times at the same locations, that if they know people feel comfortable with sharing a car with fellow students, and that's something that we can look to develop in the future, an online tool. But I think previous experience that Don's had with doing car sharing is that it works better in quite an informal way. So we're looking at using Facebook, Twitter, social media to do it quite informally, but we've got to be careful because obviously if it is a largely female demographic, that I think in general female audience are a bit more wary about car sharing for personal security and safety issues and stuff like that. So essentially, this is just one example of one of the markets. There are quite a lot of other markets. This is about behaviour change, but there's also markets about trying to maintain behaviour in terms of those people that already cycle. What interventions can you do to keep that maintenance, the behaviour, and the same with public transport and walking? So that last point is really important, that you need to, once you've segmented your audience and found these different segments, and what motivates them and the barriers to behaviour change, you need to target and tailor those interventions to different segments. There's not much value in doing blanket marketing and blanket messages because it just won't work. If you're trying to encourage someone to cycle that lives 20 miles away, it's not going to work, so you do have to be quite detailed in terms of who you're targeting. Now we're going into the second phase of brand development. The whole point of the brand development was to try and pull all Liverpool John Walsh communications about sustainable, about their student travel plans together. At the moment they have sort of cycle hire schemes or public transport schemes, and so sometimes if they're working with, say, a local cycling shop, all the communications will be from that cycling shop with the Liverpool John Walsh logo on there as well. And if they're working with public transport, see free public transport tickets, you've got like a stagecoach, and again, you've got Liverpool John Walsh branch on there. But students, I don't think, felt that the university itself was actually doing anything to encourage, or they couldn't identify that the university were making efforts to improve their travel choices. So the idea was to integrate all those messages and communications into one brand that they could identify with and engage with. And it's important that the students felt like they were part of the creative process of creative brand development rather than being top down from the university, the corporate comms team, or an external consultancy saying this is the brand, this is the message. We simply wanted to facilitate the creative process and let them develop it themselves, really. So what we did is we came up with these sort of components, what we wanted the brand to encompass. So it had to complement the existing communications and messages that Liverpool John Walsh were bringing out. Also had to be suitable for wide use, wide range of media. So we're thinking about developing a smartphone app, or social media, print campaigns, and other media as well. And again, the most important thing is that it resonates strongly with students. You've got to understand that it didn't really matter what we felt about the brand as an external consultancy, or those people on the project team, or what Donna, the corporate communications team, or the staff at the university felt about the brand. It's all about students, and they're the target audience. So it has to resonate most of that. Again, it has to instantly stand out from other messages, particularly when it comes to transport, just because it's really difficult to get students engaged with that. So it's got to be something a bit quirky, something a bit different. And also what we try to do is represent a wider social movement, so play on the idea that the campaign and it would be kind of like a club really, so students will join in from theory of missing out on any promotions or opportunities. And it is trying to sort of tap into a wider sustainability lifestyle and try to get that pain from the students, so it's not just transport. And I think another key thing as well is to avoid being too preachy or corporate. I try to instruct them saying you must travel by bike or walk, and for environmental reasons, health reasons. A lot of these messages students already understand, so there's kind of a ceiling effect, so there's not much value in trying to promote messages about the environment, health, or saving money, because students are already very much aware of that, and that's came out of the research. So it's just trying to make it fun and engaging for the students, really. After we gained insight from the market research insight, we did a bit of a brand development workshop. I'm quite lucky as well, because we recently took on a graphic designer who who was a graduate from the university. She graduated about a year ago from the University. So again, it's really good to get that insight and engagement from a student. She obviously understands what kind of works in terms of designs and of students, what resonates best with them rather than us doing it. It's been a few years since I was at university. So you can see from the initial phase, like workshop phase, where we're just coming up with different sort of taglines, different names and stuff like that. We tried to refrain from using transport and travel terminology at the start because it kind of turned off students if you use that sort of terminology, but we did find throughout the process that they weren't too averse to sort of using words like transport and travel, but we didn't have to be too abstract really. As you can see, we weren't, at one point we were thinking about the brand name Treads, but it was going to be extremely quite abstract and students can relate to it. So you've got to be careful about not being too abstract, but also not getting bogged down with transport terminology that just turn off students. It's really important that students felt that they kind of developed the brand themselves and that we just create the platform for them and facilitated them to get their opinions across. So we could take those opinions to design the campaigns. We use obviously social media, focus groups, and a bit of quantity and qual research. And again, you can't really emphasise the point enough about making sure that the brand resonates with your target audience, whether or not that's staff, students, but it is important to understand that different brand names and different messaging will mean different things to different groups. So we ran at the moment, well, we just ran a couple of focus groups with students, and we've just done, as Don was saying, we've just launched a Facebook live voting competition. We've got 2 brands at the moment, which we're working with them. They'll probably undergo a sort of revision as well. Every time we do this, we've got to take on board the students' ideas. And the idea is that students will go on the Facebook page and write comments about which brand they like or how they want them to change. And we'll compare that with the qual that we've got and hopefully develop the brand further and launch that for the new student intake this year in September. But again, you've got to be really careful about doing brand development for it not to be top down. It's not about what I like or anything like that. It's all about the students. So the next steps of the campaign are we're going to be creating social networking sites which are going to be integrated with the existing LGMU travel plan web pages. They're going to, the Facebook and Twitter sites are also going to have an integrated journey planner in them as well, and useful links like local cycling shops and public transport bikes and stuff like that. And also maybe in the future develop a car sharing tool as well that'll go on the Facebook site. Also doing some campaign merchandise as well to act as like triggers and prompts, so there's no good doing a campaign and then just letting it die down really. You want to keep those prompts around camps and those trigger points to trigger behaviour change basically, and keep the messages instilled in students. So we're looking at doing branded stationery. I think students are really keen on stress balls, water bottles and card holders and things like that. And as Donna mentioned before, we're launching a student script writing competition. So we're getting students to submit scripts about how they would promote sustainable transport to their fellow students. And we're working with the Liverpool John Moss Screen School as well about so basically the winner, whoever figures in the ledger of the Screen School, the winner of the script writing competition, then that'll be made into a short film which will go on the Facebook page and kind of hopefully it'll go viral and it'll be kind of launched on the social networking site. So that's in summer. What I'm going to show you lastly is a video. This was taken from a Dutch university, and they've done a kind of similar thing with students there in terms of like a viral video competition. And it just shows that you can incentivise students to talk about travel behaviour and to engage with them and to actually get them on board and promote it to other students themselves. It is difficult. You just got to think of innovative ways, and I think a lot of it is using the new technology that's out there in terms of social marketing. Now what the students did at the Dutch University is that they used bikes as kind of to symbolise all the shortcomings and sort of disadvantages of using the car basically. So it's a bit of a parody, but it's very clever and it just inspires and it kind of encapsulates and illustrates what our campaign is all about and how you can engage with students and influence travel behaviour. So I'm hoping the video will work. And it is in Dutch, but the background music is in English.
Zo'n beetje. Wat gaan we nu nog reden?
So we thought it was really clever, and it was something that just embraced everything that we're trying to do with the campaign. It just shows that you can, if you're quite innovative and think outside the box, you can really get students involved and engage and incentivise them. So just 3 sort of messages that I know Ryan said about the 3 C's in terms of his experience with the Cycle High scheme. Just in terms of the Liverpool John Miles work that we're doing at the moment, I'd say the first message is know your target audience, whether it's staff, students, and even break it down further in terms of is it students that live within 5 miles, so you're going to try and get them cycling, or is it even closer within a mile, maybe walking, or is it those students that live further afield, so you're looking at sort of public transport and also car sharing options. So really know and understand who your target audience is, so what motivates them as well. Try to immerse yourself in their lifestyles and what influences their habits on a daily basis in terms of commuting. So market research and insight work is essential to that. Engagement and comms, again, engagement, if you get the engagement right, hopefully the insight will come from that. And communications is vital as well, and like Donna said, it's not all just about social media, that a lot of students do enjoy still getting face-to-face contact, posters and flyers and stuff like that. We found when we did the survey that we hit a bit of a, I think 60% of our responses came from social media, and we hit a bit of a low, so we went out into the campus, handed out flyers, started speaking to students face-to-face, and the response rate really shot up, so I think it's important to do that as well. And again, the third one, can't sort of emphasise that enough, really target and tailor your interventions to different subgroups. So if you are looking at sort of doing free public transport ticketing, see where the students live in terms of public transport corridors, or if you're doing car sharing, try to identify clusters of students that live in a similar geographical area, have similar timetables and stuff like that, so you've got to be quite precise about who your audience are. So I hope that was of some interest, and I think we're going to do questions. Yeah.
Just this cycle scheme, quite interested to know how you manage the renting of bikes.
It was, in the first year, it was something that we found tricky again, actually. We went with Evan Cycles through National
Both the universities as well,
Yeah.
so it's 2 slightly different ones.
Yeah. Yeah, and because we only had 70 of our bikes out, for us it wasn't too onerous actually to maintain them. Essentially we have a model whereby students have to bring them back shortly after the new year, sort of January, February time for a 6-month service, and then we do a full summer service once they return in the summer. So for us it wasn't too onerous. However, at the University of Nottingham it was a hell of an undertaking to try and service 230 bikes in such a short period of time. You'd be amazed how many engineers or mechanics you need to do that. So it's tricky. In our second year, we've managed to change our model slightly. We're actually using our in-house student union team, and I think that's possibly increased our uptake as well because it's done in-house. So we have a house services team, so they're members of staff at our SU who do all the sort of odd jobs around the SU buildings. We've trained those up as mechanics, call it sci-tech training mechanics, and they now spend, I think it's 4 weeks a year servicing our bikes. So they've done the first tranche of servicing, it's gone well, but the big test is the summer one when we're going to do the full sort of clean hand service. So I would recommend trying to use the in-house stuff.
The University of Nottingham is slightly different model, and it's important to say we used Evans in the first year because we bought bikes from them, so it was part of the, not everybody could offer us part of the full deal. So just buying bikes quickly and getting the whole deal and not having to worry about it. They were the only company we saw really that could give us the full package every year to us, so that was quite relevant. At the University of Nottingham we have a slightly different model in the fact that we use a local bike shop, so they will come and take the bikes and the students go into the bike shop, have any work done. If it's something that they have to pay for, it's registered, and they use that for it. And that seems to work better as well. So we're building up local capacity. We've got a friendly bike shop, and so the 2 different models in the second year are working much more smoothly, I think, because they're more localised rather than being with a big organisation.
Yeah, I think that having a facility for the students to be able to drop in is valuable. So both the local bike shops at the University of Nottingham and on each of our campuses, they can drop into the SU and actually get their bike service or get a puncture fixed on a day. So it's
Yes, we found that in Leeds as well, having a bike hub that
it's on campus and students can come in with problems. And it's also really hard bikes from, but we have a relationship with local bike shop that actually supply hard bikes as well, and they come in to help on afternoon a week, provide techniques and support to not just the hard bikes, but to any staff, cyclists. But we have the whole more than that. We have at the staff are volunteers and staff who are involved at all bike in schools. But in the summer, there is that sort of logistics thing, and we're lucky to have storage in the hub as well for our bikes, so it does make it easier.
I think that real labour thing, which we've got in all three of the models now, is really important because it's not just dealing with the higher bikes, it's almost like they've got someone they can talk to because you're actually dealing with a bike, don't they?
Yeah.
My students can just go into the shop and they see people, or they just go into the pub, so they actually get the same service even if they're not using the higher bikes anymore. It's almost a continuum thing, which is really important.
Trying to move around 200 bikes around the city is
It's
not
not
fun.
I've now known to say that having to start with a bike hire scheme without being able to store bikes properly or to have that customer interface, I would like to do that again.
Same here. Yeah.
Any other questions? Maybe we'll go to the back first.
Yeah, I had problems with bikes not coming back. Is one question, and then I've got a question about the buses. So you said so your Halls of Residence students get a free bus pass, but it's only Halls of Residence students.
Yeah, it's in, I think it's about 50% of our halls is part of the incentive there. It's not completely free, it's about 100, 150 quid compared to 300 quid at many plans. So it's subsidised. And students snap those up. It is something that the Halls of Residence use as an active tool to try and recruit them into those halls.
So after reviewing halls, is there a take up of annual classes?
Yes, on top of
Is there a big drop off because they're not getting the free anymore?
because they're not.
They're not getting the free anymore. Do they ever get just so if there's a Hall of Residence linked to getting a cheap bus pass,
Yeah.
would people that work in the students that work in Halls of Residence buy bus passes?
Very much so. I think because it's integrated on the smart card, it's still seen as the way to get around Nottingham. Fortunately, at the moment, it still works on the tram, so we've got a new local provider, so it's going to change next year. But at the moment, it's a bit like an Oyster card for Nottingham. So almost all of our staff, but a good proportion of our staff and students use it, whether they've got it free from their Hall of Residence or not.
Or they're paying £300 if it's not free?
Yeah, well, it's a bit less than that actually.
And getting bikes back?
Yeah, bikes back. So in our first year, I think we lost 2 or 3 in turn that were stolen. University of Nottingham.
So that's 12 over the whole orange we've lost.
We just write it off. So we will keep the deposit in that case, unless there's a really good reason, a good excuse for not bringing it back. But generally, we just keep the deposit and don't try and reimburse the full cost of buying the student. We just absorb the loss.
It's not as big a problem as ours.
Yeah, I mean, we issue a really good deal on a good AD on, not really good, AD on phones. And as long as they're using those, we haven't had too many problems. And there is a lot of background in that team, so we've been fairly fortunate. There's a question at the front first of all.
It's the same question, we have quite a lot of background users, so it was just to,
We are looking at some new systems going forward. So we're looking at, we've already smart watered our fleet, but also there's 2 different options where you can essentially put a QR code on your bike and register your bike, so that when it gets stolen, you can go on this website that hosts all these this database of bikes registered with a QR code and find out. If you see a bike you think might be stolen, you go to your phone, your smartphone, and scan it in, and it gets registered as where it is, and the police can track it down. So we're thinking about doing that for our fleet as well.
But this is the beauty of the partnership that we're in, because we obviously not only are doing their own things to make sure security is okay, but hospital are, University of Nottingham, the City Council, but actually because we work in partnership and we get together every other month, we can talk about these issues and then have a sort of standard of Nottingham, which is something we're trying to set up at the moment, about how you register your bike, how you mark it, how you look it up. So we're hopefully influencing the whole cycling fraternity and wider Nottingham rather than just concentrating on our individual organisations, which gives us the power in the partnership.
I think you've got to have good facilities as well. You've got a lot of good swipe card access. Our security, don't let us call it secure compounds, but you know, good secure compounds, and that makes a difference.
Is there a requirement to insure the bikes?
In our terms and conditions, we do actually say, request that the students do insure them to the full property, the full value of the bike when it was bought. In our experience, I would say that less than half the students actually do that.
So you do not insist on seeing the insurance?
No, we don't. We just
Very
think that,
difficult to hire bikes if you do that.
we think that would be prohibited, and quite frankly, we've got a big fleet. We're going to expand it this year, and if we have 2 or 3 bikes stolen a year, we have 2 or 3 bikes stolen a year. It's a shame, but it's not worth getting too worried about.
It's a big barrier to something to hire.
Yes. We in the first year at Leighton, like our line manager insisted that we have to show you have to insure the logistic problems that causes, because in a great number of them are bike to insure bike. So we have to reserve that actual bike for them. So it creates a huge logistics issue, which is and
It was very close, I feel like.
it's just yeah, and they're adults.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to do that. So it's you need their responsibility.
Yep.
I'm very sorry to walk
It's okay.
walk back in again. Can I just ask a question about the smart card and those buses?
Yeah.
And if you've answered, I do apologise very much to everyone who kind of walked in from straight back here. So it's such a great session. So I was really annoyed to have missed it. But is it like a touch in, touch out job?
Yeah.
So is it an INSO registered?
Mayfair, I think, the system that it uses, and it has, I think, about 9 different purses on it. So we use it for various different applications on campus, so libraries, catering, and sports, and then obviously public transport as well, and access to buildings.
And do you have a link with the database and bus company?
No, it's all integrated with the bus company. So the biggest one in Nottingham is Nottingham City Transport, and they actually have a Nottingham City Transport machine at our main reception desk on each campus. So that's the thing about convenience, really, making convenience students. They don't have to go down to the local bus depot to activate their student deal. They can do it on campus. Sorry?
Does that difficult to set up?
I mean, I think there was some sort of connection issue when it was first set up, but both partners, it was in the interest of the bus companies to do it, obviously, so they're getting sort of access to 25,000 students, and yeah, it's run like clockwork for about 7 years now, so it's a good system.
Really a question for both Nottingham and Liverpool about have either of you looked at students who are using cars? If they're living in student areas, often their insurances will be a lot greater. And it's that whole issue actually, they're breaking the law if their car isn't registered at their student address. They should be registered at their parents' address. And there is an issue there about sort of information and education, so that probably a lot of students are still registering it, or their parents are the private driver, which is more of an issue. But then if you looked at that as something sort of like, because actually to own and run a car and insure a car as a young person is completely expensive. I mean, I'm amazed that companies afford it, but they're obviously cutting the cost a lot by doing that kind of thing. Have you looked at that at all?
We have an NTU. I would say that, although it's a good point, it sounds more like a stick to go to a student with that and point out that to them, and we would probably prefer a carrot option to provide the alternative rather than focusing on the problems that they have with the insurance.
I think one of the things, because we've had an issue at Leeds about resident parking zones and resident parking, private should be available to students, and I say, well, you can't do that, but you can make it that if the car's registered at that address. But, and there was an issue that was that discriminatory to students, and I said, well, actually, students have to register at that address, according to ULA. But it's more about the information that you provide to students. If you're bringing a car, you need to make sure it is to comply with regulations, so to make sure always, so not so much to use it as a stick, but it's just, is it an issue that you've come across at all?
Well, from my point of view, it's something we're aware of, but again, it's not something we've sort of done anything in terms of communication, etc. I mean, from John Moore's point of view, everything we send out, there's no student parking on any campuses, so everything we send out from sort of enrolment, through induction, through the whole university experience is don't bring the car. I mean, there's obviously exceptions to that. There's absolutely no student parking on any of our campuses. So, and when we're sending out messages, you know, about different locations for exams, because we do have to outsource some of our exams. Again, you know, it's just like discouragement to bring your car in, but yeah, it is. I'm aware of the issue, but it's not something we've actually done anything in any of the communication channels with yet.
Okay, so without further ado, we'll crack on with a little exercise. I think we've got about 20 minutes. We should have it wrapped up maybe 5 or 10 minutes before the end, so we can go out and enjoy the sun for a little bit. So if we could split into 3 groups, maybe the 3 rows that you're in, it's quite a good starting point. And it's split like the AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. You've got to introduce yourself and then explain what your sustainable transport issue is, what your sustainable transport problem is at your institution. If you haven't got one, don't worry too much. What we'd like you to do is focus on one problem, the juiciest problem in your group, and then come up with some solutions as a group, and just nominate one rep just to say a couple of points at the end and feedback to the group at large. I realise you haven't had long, but unlike the main session, we're going to finish on time. So even if you haven't got too much to feedback, if you could just perhaps pick out 1 or 2 key ideas that you've got to solve a problem in your group. So start at the back, please. What was your problem? What was your solution?
You had a big problem. I think the key thing was, I hope I will summarise this quite well, the crux of it is car parking, and we talked specifically about staff thinking it's the right to have a car park, and you can't even need to think about charge or anything like that, it's required. And then we talked about the other parts of it as well. If you're trying to provide an alternative bus company, it's the challenges of liaising with and those new routes bus companies is still a nightmare. We could talk a lot more about that, but it's bringing car parking to the overall strategy. The car parking is very much seen as a separate thing within the organisation. Left out of travel to my own organisation.
Okay, thank you. 2 in the middle.
We identified lots of problems, we didn't quite get to the solutions.
Okay. Here's an example.
So one issue sort of is about where when you introduce parking charges on the campus, but there is free parking on the streets around about, so then that creates a tension between sessions, but you know, these don't necessarily see it as a problem. How do you deal with that?
Yeah. I mean, in Nottingham, we've just started the workplace parking levy. It's been a real headache, and on our Clifton campus, obviously just started charging, and we've had the offset parking on residential areas. We've just started the last couple of months, so we should have done it before. Now we've worked with the City Council and got a residential payment scheme set up. I think you just need to preempt that and do it before if you haven't done already.
It's an issue in Edinburgh, and but I actually live near Leeds University where they introduced parking charges, and I couldn't get on the drive.
Yeah.
All in the parking, you know, like I didn't get out the street, and it took 2 years to get the resident parking zone introduced, and that was the residents really picking up a huge thing.
We were really surprised yesterday that the council finally basically planned to double the element in front of the campus and the road neighbours on campus. But staff have complained to the council, so they're going through consultants. And it's when people, when we're discussing this, people parking on the pavement, the grass, on the zebra crossing. It's not, we're just leaving the parking, it's crazy parking. It's dangerous.
We did have one interesting idea between an MVQ of bike maintenance. Not our
Cycling.
It's very rural. We start off things at the start of the year with 50 odd buses with 50 kids on each. as they reach 17, they all go to cars. And of course, it's lots of hills, no public transport. So I'm just trying to ask him, how do I get the youngsters to get on bikes?
Yeah.
We've got facilities, we've got showers, we've got bike storage, hidden lockers, but we can't get on bikes. So I was just, is anyone else from college here? Anyone know how to ride an MVQ? I was just thinking about writing an MVQ, where using a bike would actually be a core component of that.
We want to look at, because we've got a lot of car mechanics at one of our colleges, so we're looking at bike mechanics and whether you can make that part of the deal and get people interested in that way as well. So it's a really interesting thing, I'm really interested to talk to you about.
Yeah.
Oxford Brooks University just developed the first commercially available bamboo bike. So, I'm sure we'll be delighted to supply anyone who wants that.
I think Sci-Tech are a very good firm, nationally recognised site mechanic training, and they came in and actually do in-course sessions.
Sorry, what was that?
Sci-Tech, S-Y. Sorry.
The other thing you could look up with is possibly the national standard secretary. And incorporate that in.
There are a few options.
It's a big issue. I think one of the big things about doing fun things as well, white polo works really well, so you can get us to do that. That's a really, students of all ages love that. It's quite a fun thing to do, and you can get a car park cleared for the day and use it for a bike play. It's quite a visual thing to do as well, so it's quite good fun. So making it as fun as possible is really important as well.
Okay, group one.
We discussed lots of issues, problems again, mainly around parking issues and parking permit systems, and introducing like news tested parking permit systems so that people living within certain mileage from university don't automatically get permits. So if you live close to a bus station or a train station that you can use, and rather than just giving them out and having any sort of monitoring. Cultural issues about as well around cars when you reach a certain age, and that's the first thing you do, get given a car or something like that. We didn't really know how to address that really.
In terms of the parking permit schemes, we do a lot of work for NHS Trust at the moment in terms of trying to solve their staff car parking problems. It's a huge issue at the moment, and we do a lot of accessibility means testing. So only those staff that aren't public transport corridors or live quite far away, so 5 miles or more, their priority, so they get their parking permit rather than it being done on sort of senior management or service of the hospital. And that's something that we've introduced, and I think the trust can get through that by doing it through external consultants, because then they don't take the flak, the consultant takes the flak, which is nice for us. But yeah, I think it's becoming really popular among the health sector. I don't know in terms of education or anything like that, but it's quite prevalent now in NHS Trust, and it's something that's quite commonplace. I think staff are just getting used to it, particularly if you are saying to staff that those people on public transport corridors, you can't have a permit, then you make sure that you market and promote obviously public transport and give them sort of public transport taster tickets and stuff like that, or discount stuff, make sure it's like carrot and stick as well.
I would say if you consider sort of bringing in like, a scale parking charge, etc. as well, make sure you get unions involved from the minute go, because we've had an issue, we had some problems at one of our campuses with residential parking. The residential parking scheme came on surrounding the campus. We actually have some sort of an area on the south of the campus which was free parking, which it shouldn't have been, because we do charge parking elsewhere and across the sector. We put a barrier up and we had a lot of problems, a lot of issues, but we also had a lot of lashback from the union because we didn't consult them at the initial stages. So if you're doing anything around parking permits with staff, etc., make sure everybody's informed from the minute go, because you don't want any union lashback once you get all your permits in place. So it's just making sure it's communicated, I think, in terms of parking in particular.
Okay, I think that completes the session. We'll loiter for 5 or 10 minutes, so if you've got any questions, come and catch us. Thank you very much.